Hare Krishna. We'll start with the invocation. Invocation is on the introduction page of Bhagavad Gita. Follow along. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutatevi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So quick announcement that from 17th October, Thursday onwards for a month, the month of Kartik starts. The month of Kartik is very, very dear to Krishna and is very auspicious. And any additional devotional services you do during this month carries 1,000 times more benefit than whatever devotional services you do regularly. So please try to do extra devotional services and please try to offer ghee lamp to Gopinath at your home temple or the temple every day. I generally, during this Kartik month, I generally do additional reading and at least chant one extra round of japa. So 16 rounds of japa is mandatory. So I will chant at least one more and whatever devotional services come along. So try whatever you can and you will get 1,000 times more benefit. Second, I thank all devotees who inspired devotees towards Bhagavad Gita study by posting messages in the group. There are at least a couple of devotees who restarted. I'm hoping it is because of the messages posted by you all. Thank you again. So today, I will first answer inquiries submitted from the previous few classes. And then we will start Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. So going forward, all these homework spiritual endeavor questions will be one or two questions, and not all classes will have such homework spiritual endeavor questions. Plus, every class we will cover few verses in each class. Therefore, the reading of Bhagavad Gita after every class should also be less compared to what has been up to so far. Therefore, the spiritual endeavors should be manageable for all of you on a go-forward basis. And those of you who miss any classes or have missed any classes, I request you to please get the class recording from me and listen for your continuity of the Bhagavad Gita study. Everybody on the same page before we start?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So we will start Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. And in chapter 1, Arjuna has posed a lot of questions. And now Krishna will start responding to each of Arjuna's questions. Right now, Arjuna seems to be in a lose-lose situation. Now, this chapter 2 is a summary of entire Bhagavad Gita. And this chapter 2 is very heavy because first the summary is at a little high level. Plus, you might have not yet studied Bhagavad Gita in detail. Therefore, chapter 2 is going to make you overwhelmed. But don't worry, this overwhelming situation is natural, and I will try to remove all your anxieties. After we finish chapter 2, we will pause and revise and summarize both chapters 1 and 2, which should further help remove your anxiety. So last class, we all had homework questions to answer. And the first homework question was, when did Arjuna surrender to Krishna? Now again, these seemingly innocuous open-ended questions are not designed to downplay any one of you, that I am asking a question for you to answer for which we have not yet discussed. Rather, the questions are designed to make you endeavor to make you create a relationship with other devotees. So if you don't know the answer, you will connect with devotees. And if you try to use Bhagavad Gita, then you will little by little end up using Bhagavad Gita every day on the day-to-day basis to get answers. So it is not about a right or wrong answer, but Krishna is looking for your endeavor. So if you look at an example for this, that if a child does not try to walk, then he will never be able to walk. So many of you did endeavor for these questions. Thank you again. So please continue to endeavor. Plus, these questions are designed to make you think throughout the week and to make you eager for the answers. Now, at the very start of chapter 2, important point I want to highlight is that Bhagavad Gita has nothing to do with war. Although the discussion keeps going on about war, but Bhagavad Gita has nothing to do about war. Rather, Bhagavad Gita is about doing your duty. So I will first show the responses that devotees have submitted. But let me first start by answering inquiries that devotees have submitted. First question. So the questions are also there on the screen. During the time of Mahabharata, all the warriors and learned people were any different from this current yuga's humans like us? Because it is mentioned in Mahabharata that Bhima had so many elephants' power, which in this current yuga might not be possible. So can you please explain in what all sense were the people in other yugas different from the current yuga? So it is described in scriptures that during Satyug, people used to have lifespan of 100,000 years. Therefore, people could do austerities for some 50, 60,000 years. And lifespan in the next yuga, Treta Yuga, was 10,000 years. Lifespan in the third yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, was 1,000 years. And the lifespan in Kali Yuga is maximum 100 years. There may be few who live beyond 100. Plus, during Satyug time, the life air used to be in the bones. Therefore, those doing severe austerities for some 50, 60,000 years, that their entire body flesh is down to bare bones, and they will still survive, is because the life air was in the bones. Now in Kali Yuga, life air is in the food system. Therefore, we cannot survive without consuming food and water. Now, I have only highlighted some brief points in scriptures. There potentially are other differences. But whatever I have come across in our bhakti scriptures, understand, we are studying bhakti scriptures and we are not trying to be a jnani. So I only explained brief points about the question. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
And as I'm answering, if you have follow-up questions, by all means, you are welcome to ask follow-up questions as well.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That does answer my question. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Question number 2. On the discussion that Brahmaji did the creation only after Krishna recited Bhagavad Gita to him, but Krishna is the 8th avatar of Vishnuji, and creation was done long before it. That's why Vishnuji took 7 avatars before Krishna. Can you please give some light in this reference? So the correct understanding is that Krishna is the source of everyone and everything. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10.2 as well as 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, that I am the source of everyone and everything. So as we progress in our Bhagavad Gita study, I will show you visuals that from Krishna comes Vishnu and not the other way around, how is described in the question. So Krishna does not come from Vishnu. No. Krishna is the source. Krishna is the highest starting point. And including Vishnu, Vishnu also comes from Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28, it describes that all incarnations come from Krishna. Now the question also said about 7 avatars. That is also incorrect. Understand that there are many categories of avatars, and within each category there are many avatars. So both points I want everyone to understand, as well as the one who has asked this question. So whosoever thinks that there are 7, 8 or 9 avatars or 12 or whatever the number is, all that is incorrect. So all this will get covered in our scriptural study as we progress. So far, we are just at Bhagavad Gita, which is ABCD of spirituality. And as we progress, we will get covered. We will discuss all of these points. I will bring up on screen Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. which explains that all incarnations come from Krishna. Abhishek Prabhu, can you please read the translation from the screen?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect the theist.
Does that answer the question? Okay. Question number 3. What does going back to Godhead mean? So going back to Godhead means to become a pure devotee. You can be physically in the material world and still be a pure devotee. The perfect example is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was present here in the material world, but was always at the level of Godhead. So you can also be physically present in spiritual world, which also means going back to Godhead. So pure devotee, whether he is in the material world or in the spiritual world, pure devotee is always engaged in serving Krishna. Therefore, he is always at the level of Godhead. Question number 4. Our final destination is to go back to Godhead. And other side, we pray in Sikshashtakam, na dhananam, na janam, na sundarim. So this is a verse from Sikshashtakam, which says that I don't deserve any wealth, I don't deserve any beautiful woman, I just want to be engaged in devotional service. As we discussed in the previous question number 3, that devotee is always engaged in devotional service to Krishna. So the translation of this Sanskrit verse from Sikshashtakam number 4. So as Krishna gave instructions in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave instructions which are 8 verses, which are known as Sikshashtakam. So Siksha means knowledge and Ashtakam means 8. Therefore, the 8 verses are known as Sikshashtakam. So this particular verse is verse number 4, and the translation of this number 4 Sikshashtakam verse is that, O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. So what the devotee is doing is, the devotee is praying that wherever I am, whether in the material world or in the spiritual world, please let me always be engaged in devotional service. Does that answer the question? Although it's a pretty advanced and down the line elevated question.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5. What is Brahman realization? Does this word Brahman come from Lord Brahmaji? So Brahman effulgence is a dividing line between material world and spiritual world. Again, I will show you visuals for all of this as we progress in our Bhagavad Gita study. So Brahman effulgence is not just a line, but there are a lot of planets and at the Brahman effulgence level. but there is no activity at Brahman effulgence. All those demons who are killed by the Vishnu form of Krishna, they attain Brahman effulgence, as well as all those transcendentalists who follow Gyan Yoga process, they also attain Brahman effulgence. But because there is no activity at Brahman effulgence, and soul can never sit idle, therefore all those who attain Brahman effulgence, they fall down to the material world, mostly as humanitarians. So all these humanitarians you see around the world, at some point of time, they were at Brahman effulgence. So there are three levels of spiritual realizations. The lowest level of spiritual realization is Brahman effulgence. This is incomplete spiritual realization. The next level up of spiritual realization is Paramatma realization, and Paramatma realization is also incomplete realization. And the highest spiritual realization is Bhagwan realization. And this word Brahman in general means spiritual. In Bhagavad Gita, the word Brahman is used multiple places, and according to the context, the meaning is slightly different. So as we progress, we will come to that. So Brahman can refer to God, or Brahman can also refer to soul. So you have to understand the meaning of Brahman with the context where the word Brahman is used. And the word Brahman has nothing to do with Brahmaji. And therefore, so as to not get confused, I always address Lord Brahma as Brahmaji. Lord Brahma or Brahmaji is the first living entity and is completely different from Brahman. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Next question, little longer answer. Question number 6 is, in the purport of verse number 37-38 of chapter 1, it is mentioned that Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. However, the fourth pillar of dharma is truthlessness, meaning to not involve in activities related to gambling. So in what context this line about gambling is written? So first, let's understand the rationale for the Kshatriyas gambling. So Kshatriyas have to, as part of their administrative duty, do things which are not always desirable. Krishna says this is a fact of material nature itself. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, Krishna talks about Varnashram, and there Krishna says that just as fire is covered by smoke, similarly, all endeavors are covered by fault. So the word fault means not that the activity is faulty, rather you may have to do certain acts which are harmful. For example, killing somebody. That's the word fault refers to. So the fault of Kshatriyas is that they often have to do violence. For example, they may have to punish. So they may even have to kill. They have to punish wrongdoers in court of justice, kill wrongdoers on the battlefield. So these are duties which are difficult duties, but they still have to do these certain things. And to be able to fight a war, the Kshatriyas go on to first hunt animals so that they can see the sight of blood. They are able to kill a living entity. So similarly, Kshatriyas to have a chivalrous spirit, they should not refuse whenever they are challenged. This enables them to be courageous and chivalrous. So these spirits are important for Kshatriya. That means Kshatriya are not cowardly and not cowardly running away from confrontation when it is needed. So the idea is that there are certain things that Kshatriyas are meant to do because that enables them to maintain the spirit that is required for their activities. Therefore, when they are challenged to fight or challenged to gamble, they cannot refuse. This way, they are able to maintain their chivalrous spirit, and it becomes a matter of honor for them to not refuse. The last point I will explain, and I will pause and ask you if you want me to explain further. The last point is that Kshatriyas don't gamble to earn money for sense gratification, like how people gamble in the material world. And the four regulative principle, one of the four regulative principles that we have in ISKCON is not to gamble, is because gambling agitates your mind and senses. But for a Kshatriya, that's not what is happening. They are gambling to show that they are not coward. So I've spoken a lot. I will pause if that answers. And my second question is, do you want me to explain specific point about Yudhishthir gambling or not? Everybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, if you can explain further.
Okay. So now to the specific about Yudhishthir gambling. So Yudhishthir had faced an ethical crisis. Sorry, I'll repeat. Yudhishthir had faced an ethical crisis. What's the difference between moral crisis and ethical crisis? Moral crisis means that one choice is moral and the other choice is immoral, and one has to choose between the two. Example, if a person is tempted for illicit sex, knowing that illicit sex is wrong, then that's a moral crisis. Ethical crisis means that both the options that the person is facing, both are ethical and both have their own morality. But at that point in time, one is not sure which moral path he should follow. So for example, say there are some communal riots going on and a person of a community is targeted by rioters. That person comes running to one of the house and he takes asylum in the house. He hides in the house. And the rioters come and ask the house owner whether this person is hiding there. Now, one principle for the householder is to speak the truth. And simultaneously, the other principle is to protect others. So both are moral principle, and the householder at this point has an ethical crisis that what he should do. So this is an example of ethical crisis. Ethical crisis don't have easy answers. And this is what Yudhishthir faced in the gambling challenge that he was challenged. So Yudhishthir had been invited to gamble, and it was not so much of a challenge which made him to gamble. He could have easily refused that because Yudhishthir is a Brahminical nature. Rather, Yudhishthir saw this as an instruction coming from elders. So Dhritarashtra wanted Yudhishthir to gamble, and Dhritarashtra sent Vidura to convey this message. So both are elders for Yudhishthir. So this became an instruction for Yudhishthir. Now, before the gamble, why the gamble happened was because of the Ratsuya Yagya, where this whole beautiful city and palace was built for Yudhishthir. At that Ratsuya Yagya, Yudhishthir had taken a vow that in order to avoid conflicts with Duryodhan and party, Yudhishthir will always follow the instructions of elders. And Yudhishthir never thought that the elders will give such an instruction to gamble. So Yudhishthir at that particular point in time had this ethical crisis that which path do I choose? Now, certainly what Yudhishthir could have done that, okay, this is an instruction of elders, so I will gamble. But Yudhishthir actually got carried away with what all he gambled. And Yudhishthir should have asked Krishna to play on his behalf, just as Duryodhan asked Shakuni to play on his behalf. Does that answer this question in details?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right.
Prabhu, can I ask further question if possible?
Yeah.
So Prabhu, this line is applicable to the people in Kali Yuga or all the yugas like Satyuga, Treta and Dwapar Yuga?
Bhagavad Gita is applicable for all yugas. Bhagavad Gita is not spoken only for a particular yuga. So you have to understand Bhagavad Gita is principles. How you apply principles will vary according to time, place, and circumstances. But principles are universal in all yugas. Monarch Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, last question for this batch for today. Question number 7. What about those people who cannot read or understand Bhagavad Gita? How can they live a successful life? So gopis did not study any scriptures. Still, gopis' level of devotion is unimaginably high. So one can either start the path of spirituality by studying scriptures to develop faith in Krishna, or if you are already a devotee like gopis and gopas, you can just do devotional service. Further, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite, that those who are devoted to me doing devotional service with love and devotion, I give them the knowledge by which they can come to me. Further, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 11.53 that one cannot know Krishna by study of Vedas, by charity, by doing austerity. No, it's not possible to understand Krishna by studying. And Krishna goes on to say in the next verse 11.54 that one can know me only by devotional service. So spirituality is not a matter of academic study. Rather, spirituality is a matter of heart being transformed and attached to Krishna. Mansi, I request you to please read Bhagavad Gita 11.53 and 54 translations.
Yes, Prabhu, just give me a minute. I'm opening the page. 11.53. Right?
11.53 and 54.
Okay. Just the translation.
Correct.
11.53. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by the charity, nor by the worship. It is not by the means that one can see me as I am. 11.54 translation. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service, can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Hare Krishna.
All right. Does that answer the questions?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's now start Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. And I will start with the first homework question, that when did Arjuna surrender to Krishna? And I will bring up on screen the slides. So here are the sources from our previous classes that devotees used for the previous open-ended question. There were so many of them. And now devotees have used Bhagavad Gita and the discussion in our Bhakti classes and devotee association. So just see your progress in just the few classes only, that you have already stopped all this contamination which was going on. So now you focused on just Bhagavad Gita, just our Bhakti discussions and connecting with devotees, and you just keep doing this, which is there in the green color on the screen. And this is the perfect way to get all the answers that you need on a day-to-day basis in your life. Is that spectacular transformation for all of you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So the question is, when did Arjuna surrender to Krishna? Here are the answers that devotees submitted. Some said 2.7, multiple devotees said 2.7, multiple devotees said 1.46, multiple devotees said 18.73, at least one devotee said 1.28. At least one devotee said that Arjuna surrendered even before the Kurukshetra war, that when Arjuna and Duryodhana had gone to Krishna for asking help during the war, and Arjuna wanting Krishna to be by his side. Therefore, Arjuna was already surrendered at that time. And at least one devotee said, I'm not sure. So it's quite a range of answers that you all have submitted. And even from the previous 5 batches, I have similar answers, that a bunch of devotees give chapter 1 and chapter 2 as the answer, and bunch of devotees give chapter 18 as the answer. There are few who give in between as well. So to answer this question, let me start by giving you overview of chapter number 2 and the section division of chapter number 2, and we'll come to discussing this question again. So chapter number 2 is titled Contents of Gita Summarized. In Sanskrit, Sankhya Yoga is the most common name for chapter 2 because Sankhya is talked about at the initial part of chapter 2. Sankhya means analysis. The analysis of existence of various elements of the body and of material nature. So chapter 2 is divided into 5 sections. Section 1 is verses 1 to 5. Arjuna's further doubts and surrender So Arjuna gives indecision as one more reason to not fight. And therefore, Arjuna does not want to be aggressive because he is indecisive. Hence, at 2.7 Bhagavad Gita, means chapter 2, verse number 7, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna and asks Krishna to be Arjuna's spiritual master, to take Arjuna as Krishna's disciple, and Arjuna asks Krishna to please instruct. This Bhagavad Gita 2.7 verse is the first major junction point in Bhagavad Gita. There are three major junction points. We'll discuss as we go along. This is the 2.7 is the first major junction point in Bhagavad Gita. Now, an obvious question comes up that why does Arjuna surrender so early in Bhagavad Gita at 2.7? So, Parker question, we'll discuss this as we continue. And I will explain. Right now, I'm giving you a little overview of chapter 2. Now, in sections 2 to 5, Krishna will answer and give reasons to dispel Arjuna's doubts to not fight, and Krishna will try to convince Arjuna to do his duty of fighting. So section 2 is verses 11 to 30. Title is Jnana - Fight. So here in section 2, Krishna counters Arjuna's compassion argument to not fight. So recall in chapter 1, Arjuna had given 4 arguments. First was compassion. So Krishna counters this in section 2, verses 11 to 30. Krishna says, temporary body cannot be saved, and eternal soul cannot be killed. Therefore, compassion for temporary body is ignorance. Section 3 is verses 31 to 38. Title is Karma Kanda - Fight. In section 3, Krishna counters Arjuna's next argument from chapter 1, that loss of enjoyment as the reason to not fight. So in section 3, Krishna counters this Arjuna's loss of enjoyment argument, that you are not this body, you are a soul. And by doing your prescribed duties, you will enjoy. So Karma Kanda is the first application of Atma Gyan. So Atma Gyan means the knowledge of the soul is given in the previous section number 2, verses 11 to 30. And in verses 31 to 38 is the Karma Kanda, is the first application of Atma Gyan. Section 4 is verses 39 to 53. Nishkam Karma Yoga - Fight. Section 4 you can split in 2 parts. Verses 39 to 46, Karma Yoga is described. And verses 47 to 53, how to practice Karma Yoga is described. So here in section 4, Krishna focuses on Arjuna's arguments that there will be suffering because Arjuna will be subject to sinful reaction. So this was the third reason he gave in chapter 1, Arjuna. And Krishna is countering this here. Krishna says that if you do Nishkam Karma Yoga, then your activity will bring no reaction. So Nishkam Karma Yoga is one level higher than Karma Kanda, and Nishkam Karma Yoga is the second application of Atma Gyan. So Krishna says that if you understand that you are a soul, then you should focus on going beyond material existence to the eternal spiritual existence. Therefore, fight with detachment and there will be no sinful reactions. Section 5 is verses 54 to 72. Title is Characteristics of Sthita Prajna. So this word Sthita Prajna is directly there from 2.54. Sthita Prajna means fixed in Krishna consciousness. So section 5 title is Characteristics of Sthita Prajna fixed in Krishna consciousness dash fight. So Arjuna's arguments on compassion, loss of enjoyment, and sinful reactions will get countered in chapter 2. Arjuna's fourth argument from chapter 1 about destruction of family tradition will get countered in chapter 3. And Arjuna's fifth argument of indecision, which is there at the start of chapter 2, this will get countered throughout Bhagavad Gita and by the end of Bhagavad Gita. So these chapter divisions, chapter sections are easy way to remember Bhagavad Gita as well as the essence, and easy way to understand what these series of verses are trying to explain. So when somebody asks you a question, it's easy way to recall all this. Example, say when you do book distribution, I'll give you my example that one person was walking so fast because everybody in the material world is walking that I had to literally run with this person, and this person is asking me a question about demigod worship, but has no time to wait. So he was walking, almost running. I was trying to run with him and I was trying to answer his demigod worship question while he was running, and he said, okay, thank you, and he went. So how you are able to answer is when you understand all these small chunks within each chapter that should make you remember a lot of principles of Bhagavad Gita. So soon you all will be practicing Bhagavad Gita principles on a daily basis if you are not already doing it. And these chapter divisions will become handy. I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations.
Hare Krishna, Ravi.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
I just want to re-clarify. Initially, you said that Bhagavad Gita is not speaking about wars; it is speaking about duties.
Yeah.
But maybe not that. There is something which I'm not clear. We are it is also addressing Arjuna's questions which are related to war. or we should see it as specifically duties?
At no point Arjuna has asked a question about war in Bhagavad Gita. Does not exist. So if you read 2.7, we'll soon read today and discuss. Arjuna says, I don't know what is my duty. So for Arjuna, the duty is to fight a war. But Bhagavad Gita has nothing to do with war. Krishna has come to deliver Bhagavad Gita to teach us how to do our duty with detachment, so that we don't have any reactions, we don't have any bondage in the material world, and we purify ourselves. So at no point, show me a verse where Arjuna says, Krishna, tell me, how do I fight this war? Abhishek Prabhu or anybody, show me a verse. Abhishek Prabhu, does that answer?
Yes. So we should see all the doubts which Arjuna is having, in a sense, relatable to us, because we may also have similar questions while doing our duties.
Absolutely correct. It's not we may. We definitely have these doubts while we are doing our duty on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita is a manual for us to live in this world on a day-to-day basis at the level of soul by getting the answers from Bhagavad Gita. So far I have already made your hands wet by using Bhagavad Gita to a certain extent to get your answers, and we will continue to get all our answers directly from scriptures. So just as how I gave you all the chapter 2 section divisions, every section has the word -5. At the start of chapter 3, I will ask you to replace the word fight, do your duty. So all sections, so section 2, Jnana fight, will become Jnana, do your duty. Karma Kanda fight will become Karma Kanda, do your duty. Nishkam Karma Yoga, do your duty. Sthita Prajna, do your duty. Fight has nothing to do with Bhagavad Gita. Abhishek Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank
Okay, very good inquiry. All right, we'll start reading the verses. Matan Prabhu, 2.1 translation as well as the purport, first 2 lines.
Hare Krishna 2.1. Seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. And the purport?
First 2 lines.
Okay, material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty.
All right. So chapter 1 focus was on Arjuna's qualities. Chapter 2 is about Sankhya Yoga. Focus is that bodily emotions are illusory. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says in the very first line of the purport that we just read, that compassion for the body are signs of ignorance of the real self. So this does not mean that a person has to become hard-hearted, that when someone dies, you end responding saying, why are you crying? The soul does not die. No, never do that. But what we will learn is that we have to direct the soft-heartedness in the right direction. Immediate effect is that the person is suffering because of bodily misidentification, and therefore the person is lamenting when somebody dies in the family. But the specific reasons for suffering right now that need to be dealt with, but after the person recovers, beyond that person is suffering is because of ignorance of the soul, and that's when you start talking about philosophy. Not right now. If you start talking philosophy, you will run a truckload of philosophy on a person who is already injured. So don't do that. So this ignorance of the soul has to be conquered by becoming self-realized. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are being compassionate to ourselves and to others, and this is self-realization. Monarch Prabhu, verse number 2 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, verse number 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy.
In the purport, the word Bhagwan is described. Bhaga in Bhagwan means opulences, and Van means possessor of these opulences. So Bhagwan means possessor of all 6 opulences in full. So Krishna is Bhagwan, and Krishna has these 6 opulences in 100%, which are wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, renunciation. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that his actions are unfitting in 3 ways. First is unbecoming of you as an Aryan. Second is unbecoming for you because it will not take you to auspicious destinations. And even in this life, it will not bring you fame, rather it will bring you infamy. That this does not befit who you are, does not befit what you will get in the future, and does not befit what you will get in this life. So this is exactly opposite of what you want. So Arjuna was thinking that by killing, I will have all these miseries and I will be not famous. But Krishna is saying the absolute other way around. That if you don't do your duty, then it is going to bring you infamy. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So we'll come back to verse number 2 very soon and do a comparison. Very important verse. It's going to be a spiritual endeavor for you today also. Neha, verse number 3 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Are you able to hear me, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead. Neha.
Yes, Prabhu. Translation. Text. Chapter 2, text 3. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading importance. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
So this verse number 3 is Krishna's verbal slap number 1 to Arjuna. Krishna is using strong words. Klebyam in the Sanskrit. Klebyam means importance. It's a very strong word to say to a Kshatriya. Importance means that you are incapable or ineffective or weak. And other word Krishna has used is Shudram, that you have become petty because why this is strong is because Kshatriya is considered as personification of masculinity, and Kshatriya is considered to be very strong and powerful, and Kshatriya have a lot of potencies. So for a Kshatriya to be called as impotence or Shudra is a very big insult. Therefore, this verse number 3 is verbal slap number 1 by Krishna to Arjuna. We'll read verse number 4, 5, and 6 translations together, and we'll come to next spiritual endeavor question. Nishan Prabhu, are you able to read verse 4, 5, 6 translations? Or do you want me to bring up on screen? Nishan Prabhu? Okay, we cannot hear Nishan Prabhu. Smith Prabhu, verses 4, 5, and 6 translations.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Verse number 4 translation. Arjun said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows and battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? Translation, text 5 translation. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Text 6 translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the son of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield.
Okay. So Arjuna has two options. First is to fight the war, and there can be two results in the fight. One is if Arjuna wins. Arjuna has already said in chapter 1 that even if I win, the win is tainted with blood of loved ones, so I cannot enjoy. And the second option is if Arjuna loses, then Arjuna loses his life. So fighting is a lose-lose situation. And the second option Arjuna has is to not fight. And then Arjuna will have to live by begging. And this begging is also disgraceful for a Kshatriya. So again, fighting is a lose-lose situation, and not fighting is also a lose-lose situation. And Arjuna is also thinking about his duty. Therefore, Arjuna is confused. And Arjuna is thinking that Arjuna is in a lose-lose-lose situation. So what should he do? And if you actually go back to chapter 1, verse number 43, I want all of you to go to 1.43. And do you remember from our introduction discussion, what is Sanatan Dharma?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's Sanatan Dharma means the eternal sky. Sanatan Dharma is the dharma that is forever. and that is eternal.
Yeah, very good. So Sanatan Dharma is in the Sanatan sky, means spiritual sky, and Sanatan Dharma means the soul eternally serving the eternal master, Krishna. Very good. So I want all of you to go to 1.43, and the very first line, Arjuna says Kula Dharma. So Arjuna is so bewildered because he used his Pratyaksha Praman that he is saying Kula Dharma is Sanatana. Kula Dharma means taking care of family, the bodily level. He's saying Kula Dharma is Sanatana. That's the level of bewilderment that has happened to Arjuna by using Pratyaksha Praman. That he has forgotten the Shabda completely, that the Sanatan Dharma of the soul is to serve Krishna. Everybody with me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So this leads to our next spiritual endeavor question. What does intelligence mean? I will bring up the answers on the screen for you to take a snapshot. Again, the questions are designed not to downplay you, but these are designed to make your hands wet by using Bhagavad Gita to get your answers. And the questions are designed to make you eager for the answer. So on the slide, you will see that there are many good answers. All of you used Bhagavad Gita or Bhakti Vix discussion, as well as devotee association to get your answers. This is spectacular. We already discussed. So we have also discussed that our bottom line goal is to remember Krishna at the moment of death. This is described in 8.5. But we also know that death is very difficult. Therefore, Acharyas have explained that don't try to remember Krishna at the moment of death. Rather, try to remember Krishna throughout your life by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by doing devotional services, by studying scriptures, by thinking and remembering, so that you will remember Krishna and Krishna will actually remember you at the moment of death. And Bhagavad Gita 8.6 describes, otherwise, whatever else you will remember, you will end up becoming that. Meaning, a male has attraction for female, whatever be the relation, mother, wife, daughter, fantasy, the male will end up getting a female body in the next life. And if the female has attraction for male, whatever be the relation, father, husband, son, fantasy, the female will end up getting a male body in the next life. Or if somebody is attracted to a pet cat or dog, and that person remembers that pet cat or dog the moment of death, then that person will end up becoming a dog or a cat. So right now, you all may not necessarily be conscious to remember Krishna 24 hours. Is my assumption correct? All of you, please answer. Are you all consciously remembering Krishna 24 hours?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, not 24 hours.
Okay. Rest of you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, not for 24 hours.
Okay. Rest of you, are you remembering Krishna 24 hours?
Not Prabhuji. No,
Not Prabhuji,
Prabhuji, not
24 by
even for the
7.
24th second.
Very good. Very good. So these endeavor questions unconsciously are making you remember Krishna. So you can judge for yourself. Somebody answered immediately and somebody kept thinking for a long time. And multiple devotees had conversations with me on this, these seemingly innocuous, open-ended questions. Basically, when you discuss, when you remember these questions, my task is accomplished to make you remember Krishna 24 hours. And you will get purified simply by remembering Krishna via Krishna's words or related to Krishna's words. So I will bring up on screen the answers the devotees submitted for the question about intelligence. I am not going to discuss all of this. I will only highlight few important points, and we will then come to discussing this. So one devotee used 2.7, very good. So the green color obviously is a very good answer, that use exact 2.7 verse, exactly where this question originates from. Now, the yellow highlighted is something to avoid or change what you are using. Now, this devotee has used Chaitanya Charitamrita to get the answer. Now, the answer is right. I'm not highlighting in yellow that the answer is wrong. But the highlight in yellow is that you have used third level of scripture. Bhagavad Gita is ABCD. Srimad Bhagavatam is next level of scripture, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is third level of scripture. So the devotee who has answered this using Chaitanya Charitamrita did not answer the previous questions correctly, meaning the previous questions coming from Bhagavad Gita. So why are you jumping to third level of scripture? First, solidify Bhagavad Gita. That's my request to you all. Try to get your answers from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has given you everything. I am giving you questions from Bhagavad Gita. You should try to get the answers from Bhagavad Gita. So the answer is not incorrect, that one who is Krishna conscious is intelligent. That's a correct answer. But the scripture, I want you to use Bhagavad Gita for your answers. So the devotee, of course, is advanced, has also asked advanced level questions. But I request you to come back. Come down to my level. My level is grade 1 level. I request you to come down to my level and answer at my level to the questions. The next point I want to highlight about devotee lecture. In the answer is correct, you just have to recognize that the lecture would be little contextual. So Prabhupada purports are universal. Prabhupada lectures are somewhat contextual as well as universal, but there is a local context to where the Prabhupada is giving the lecture or when Prabhupada is giving the lecture. Plus there is, of course, generalized. So this is next level. And then there are Prabhupada letters that Prabhupada has written. Those are very specific to context of what somebody asked a question to Prabhupada. So don't go to Prabhupada letters. Don't go to other devotees' lectures. I clearly asked everyone, drop everything that you are doing. So the devotee lecture, I didn't put the name, but the devotee who's giving the class is a bona fide acharya. So I'm not asking you to drop away from the bona fide acharya. No. What I'm saying is, come down to my level. The acharyas that you have used to get the answers, their lectures are beyond me. And they will be having little context to what they are talking. Again, the answer is not necessarily incorrect, but I request all of you to use Bhagavad Gita first. Solidify Bhagavad Gita and then move to the next scripture. Is that doable for everyone?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Very good.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Next, thank you. The next I will highlight is, again, devotee heard from our previous class about that Shabda, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra are our intelligence. Very good answer. The devotee was hearing with rapt attention. And another devotee has given this answer: to know what to do when you don't know what to do is called intelligence. Is basically the devotee has again heard from my previous discussion, and that essentially is the answer what I'm going to respond in a minute. And again, another devotee also used a lecture. Bona fide acharya, bona fide devotee. But I request you to please use Bhagavad Gita. So I request you to please take a snapshot of this. I'm not going to read everything from here. I will, of course, discuss the answer to this question as to what does intelligence mean. And we'll come to that point. So intelligence means to know what to do when I don't know what to do. So when one thinks I don't know what to do is actually the beginning of intelligence. When you don't know what to do, seek help from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So for our day-to-day situation, seek help from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Verse number 7 is a very important verse in Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada's purport for 2.7 is also very, very important. This 2.7 is also going to be your spiritual endeavor for today. So Srila Prabhupada purport mostly focuses on the perplexities we face in the material world. And as I already explained, that 2.7 is the first major junction point in Bhagavad Gita from the 3 junction points. So material world puts us in perplexities. Should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. I have to find the answers not from my contaminated intelligence, not from my contaminated mind. Rather, I have to get the answers from my day-to-day duties from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So therefore, so far I have made you get your hands wet on using Bhagavad Gita. And if somebody is still having challenges, by all means, you can connect with me offline or connect with a devotee, or you can bring up the questions right now also. Everybody on the same page before we read 2.7?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So 2.7, even though it's not a key memorization verse, obviously is a very, very important verse. So I will recite in Sanskrit, and then you can all unmute and recite one line after me, please. Now I will bring up this 2.7 on screen, and I will get Nishan Prabhu to speak. I see he is now able to speak. So when you see the words, they are little long words. So how do I pronounce this? So you see, Prabhupada has done very simple for us that the second verse looks like a very big word. How do I pronounce it? Prabhupada has done dosha and upahata. Prabhupada has split for us. Similarly, there are other words which may seem difficult. Prabhupada has split and made it easy for us. And if you look at this word, at the very last line, says there's an apostrophe and aham. The apostrophe you have to read as aham. The apostrophe is a. So all this we will study in our Sanskrit class. Our Siksha Guru, His Grace Bhakti Yoga Prabhu, will teach us. So for the Sanskrit also, I am trying to get you to wet your hands, so that when Bhakti Yoga Prabhu comes, there will be lot of more benefit for you rather than just doing Sanskrit on day one, because we haven't yet scratched our hands, made our hands wet. So I'm going to recite. Now this 2.7 verse has a different meter. I'm not an expert in reciting in that meter, but I will recite what I can. And then you can unmute and recite one line after me, please. So Bhagavad Gita 2.7. Karpanya dosha upahata sobhava prachami tvam dharma samudha chetasha yat shreyasyam nishchitam bruvi tanme shishyasete ham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. Everybody unmute yourself and recite one line after me, please. Karpanya dosha upahata sobhava
Karpanya
Dosha
dosha upahata
upahata
svabhava
prachami tvam dharma samudha chetasha
prachami
Prachami
tvam
tvam
dharma
dharma
samudha
samudachetasa
chetasah
Yat shreyasyam nishchitam bruvi tanme
yat
Yat
shreyasan
Shreyasyan
nichitam
Nichitam
bruvit
Brutitam
me
Me
shishyasate aham sadhi mam tvam prapanam.
Shishyase
Shishyasam
aham
Sadhi
sadhi
Mam
prapannam.
Prapannam.
Very good. Nishan Prabhu, from your book or from the screen, translation 2.7.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composures because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
So, up to before 2.7 verse, Arjuna is not surrendered to Krishna. Arjuna is talking to Krishna as a friend. We know that Arjuna and Krishna have been friends since childhood. And up to 2.7, Arjuna is not making any inquiries. Arjuna is simply stating his issues, and Arjuna is simply communicating his decision that Arjuna will not fight. Arjuna is not making any inquiries. But at 2.7, the relationship changes. Krishna has now become spiritual master, and Arjuna has become disciple. Krishna is always spiritual master, but in the context, what the discussion is going on, 2.7 is where Arjuna starts making inquiries. We'll connect this as soon as with previous verses to understand this more. Now, these words Brahmana and Karpanya. So, Brahmana is a person who lives in such a way to seek the absolute truth, while Karpanya is a person who lives in a short-sighted way, wanting quick gains and not thinking long-term. So from this, we should live like a Brahmana, meaning what is shreyas for us is what we should inquire. And then the verse talks about miserly weakness, means it is because of attachment to family, to relatives, and this is based on bodily conceptions. And bodily conception leads to bondage and suffering. Now, question may come up that are bodily attachments with my relatives wrong? The answer is, if we think of our relatives as parts and parcels of Krishna and as devotees of Krishna, and serve our relatives as devotees of Krishna, that makes your attachment spiritual, which will help both you and your family to go closer to Krishna. Otherwise, if you think your family as objects of sense enjoyment, you will simply create attachment which will cause a lot of bondage and suffering. So when Arjuna saw, Arjuna came under illusion, under Maya, and this is meant for us to learn how a person comes under illusion simply by using Pratyaksha Praman, simply by seeing. Questions, comments, realizations? And going back to Abhishek Prabhu's earlier question about the word fight. Abhishek Prabhu, what does Arjuna ask in 2.7? Go to 2.7. What is he asking?
He's saying he's confused about his duty.
His duty. Arjuna did not say, how do I fight this war? And this is a very important point, the way Arjuna has phrased this question. My duty, I don't know. And Arjuna is representing all of us. And therefore, Arjuna is asking the most appropriate question on our behalf. I also have confusion. What should I do? What should I not do? Abhishek Prabhu, does that further help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Very good. Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. Abhishek Prabhu, 2.8 translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. 2.8. I can find no means to derive away this grief, which is drying up my senses. I'll not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty, like that of demigods in heaven.
Question for all of you. All of you try to answer this question. So a starving beggar comes to you to ask for something to eat, and you give him Gopinath's garland, and you say to him, look, I am giving you honor. To get Gopinath's garland is honor. Question is, what will this person respond to you, this starving person?
Hare Krishna Guruji, I think he will not accept it. He would want maybe money or something that would fulfill his desire for what he's looking for.
Very good. Everybody, please try to answer. Make it quick. We are a little behind.
I think he'll be furious, maybe angry that we are kind of making fun of him or something.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Nishant Prabhu.
Yeah, he's going to refuse that, and because he's not looking for that one because he's starving, so he looks some kind of food or money or something.
Very good. Rest of you, please try to answer.
Yes, Prabhu, he will deny because he wants food or money.
Yeah, very good. Rest of you have not answered. Somebody leftovers? Mansi, Matan, Neha. Silence, please participate.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think so he will refuse the garland because he wants some food or money to eat something.
Okay, very good. So understand that there are two broad existent levels. One is material and one is spiritual. And within material, there are two dimensions. One is emotional and one is physical. Means there are three levels of existence. Material physical, material emotional, and spiritual. So emotional conflict or emotional events can be so tormenting, and at that time the physical comforts don't comfort the emotional conflicting event. Arjuna is tormented at an emotional level right now. Therefore, the physical gratification of winning the war, and look what he's saying in 2.8, that to win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. First of all, such a thing does not exist on earth. But Arjuna says, even if I get a kingdom unrivaled like the heaven, I am not going to be satisfied. Because Arjuna is tormented at the emotional level and winning the war is at physical gratification level. So physical gratification cannot solve emotional level problems. Therefore, Arjuna is saying 2.8, a dream kingdom, no enemies, no natural disasters, kingdom equal to heaven. No material thing can drive away my grief. And that's the example I gave about the beggar. The beggar has a particular level of misery of being hungry, and you are giving the garland, which is an honor at an ego level. They are different. They are at emotional level. Therefore, he is going to reject. You all correctly answered. So Arjuna is tormented at emotional level, fighting and winning at the physical level will not solve Arjuna's emotional level problem. A problem needs a particular solution. Chapter 1 talks about only material perspective in his life and the next life, but nothing about spiritual perspective. So the important point of Bhagavad Gita is that physical solutions cannot solve emotional problems. We need spiritual solutions for emotional problems. Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations?
Just wondering that, like, for physical things, we need kind of physical solutions.
You are correct.
But for emotional things, you are saying that we need spiritual solutions. Like,
Correct.
so, like, why not emotional works? Emotional solutions work.
So, yeah, emotional, I said, is still at material world level. So material has two dimensions, right? Physical and emotional. So for example, somebody has a fracture. That's a physical misery. He needs to put on a cast. That's the solution. He needs a physical solution. And somebody has mental issues. Yes, you will start with providing emotional support, but that is still at material world level. You have to take the next step. Otherwise, what will happen is, I will give you an example to understand this. A drunkard is given a solution that every time the drunkard gets a craving to drink, so instead of drinking, he should eat chocolate. Okay, chocolate is not as bad as drinking, but now the drunkard is addicted to chocolate. So basically what happened is you have replaced one evil of drinking with a lesser evil of eating chocolate. So lesser evil is still evil, means material world solution are temporary. Yes, you start with emotional support, but then you have to take to the next level of giving spiritual solution. That why are you suffering? You are suffering because you are not living at the level of soul, you are living at the level of body. Material world is a place of misery. Therefore, emotional problems, you need spiritual solutions. Does that help you? Abhishek Prabhu? Abhishek Prabhu? We cannot hear you. Okay, Abhishek Prabhu is having mic issues, so we'll continue on. Okay. So this leads to our next spiritual endeavor question. Next spiritual endeavor question you all had was, is question important? Is answer important? I have undivided attention on this. Very important discussion. So I will bring up the answers on screen. So these are the responses that devotee gave. That 17% said question is important. 6% said answer is important. 72% or majority of the devotees said both question and answer are important. And 6% said not sure. So my question for you is, make it very interactive. This is very important discussion. What does the slide tell you? Everybody quickly.
This slide tells us the analysis of what we have answered.
Yeah, but what's the answer? What does the slide tell you?
Like majority of us believe that have answered that both question and answer are important.
Okay,
And very few have said that, not sure and just that answers are important.
Okay, so of course, question and answer, majority of us saying. Rest of you, what does the slide tell you? Quickly. Anybody? Oh, okay. So obviously, it is correct answer that both question and answers are important. Across all previous batches, it's similar answer in terms of percentage. And it is correct answer that both question and answer are important. This leads to my next question that I'm going to ask you right now. So yes, we have established that both question and answer are important. So my question is, how much time do you allot to the question and how much time do you allot to the answer? Is it 50-50? Is it 40-60? Is it 30-70? Is it 20-80? Is it 10-90? How much? What percentage? Everybody quickly answer.
Vishnu Prabhuji, for me, what I think is I focus more on questions than answer and to implement. So I would say 70-80% to questioning and just 20 or 30 to answering and following it. So
okay, rest of you quickly answer. Very important to understand this question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, ideally it should be 50-50%, but for me it's 20% question and 80% answers.
Okay, exact opposite to what Smith Prabhu said. Okay, rest of you quickly answer. Quickly, please. We are behind.
It should be
Nishant Prabhu, go ahead.
It should be like 50-50%. The question and answers are both important. So
okay, Mansi.
Yes, Prabhuji, for me, the question is 40% and the answer is 60%, because I think so for me to understand any answer, I need more time.
Okay, so what's your percentage for question?
For 40%.
Okay, rest of you have not answered. Quickly. Matan, Neha, who else didn't answer?
Yeah, I'm also about 40% question and 60% answer.
Okay. Okay, so I have undivided attention. So what we will learn from Arjuna, the content of the question definitely is important. But we will learn a lot many subtle things from Arjuna in terms of how and why he is asking the question. So you all from this batch are not the only ones to get this question, that is question important, is answer important, and how much time to spend the time on question and answer. And across all batches, everybody answered similarly to what you all answered. Because of my bodily attachment, I like to listen to my voice more and more and more. You visualize discussions from our previous classes where you are just talking and talking and talking. So going forward, I will ask you to ask a question in brief manner what Arjuna has taught us instead of setting a base. And I will explain the reasons as I'm talking. Meaning, our intent should be to ask questions in brief so that majority of the time is allotted to answers. One of the things we will learn from Arjuna is to ask questions in brief and to the point so that most of the time is allotted to hearing the answers. So there is no limit on how many questions you can ask. But we will learn from Arjuna and apply the learnings in our day-to-day life by asking questions in brief so that most of the time is allotted to answers. So I'm not trying to highlight anyone from this batch. Devotees from all batches have gone through the exact same situation, that because of my bodily attachment, that my consciousness is riveted to my body. Therefore, I like to hear my voice more and more and more, and therefore I go on talking and talking and talking and talking about the question. You are not this body, but you are a soul, is Krishna's first instruction in Bhagavad Gita 2.13. And it is very difficult to come out of this bodily attachment because my consciousness is riveted to the body. Question for you all, where are rivets used? Somebody quickly.
Prabhuji, can you define the meaning of rivets? I don't know.
Rivet, somebody? So rivet is when you join two things. So if you have to join two things very strongly, you use a rivet. Where, anybody else? Where are rivets used generally? Can somebody think of? So if you look at airplane has millions and millions of rivets to hold the body together. Otherwise, they are individual parts. And the airplane goes through so much pressure, or if you look at bridges, they are held together with rivets. Similarly, my body and soul are riveted together. I cannot find any difference between my body and my soul. So far, I am preparing you all so that the Bhagavad Gita heavy discussion can start, so that you all can get the most benefit. Similarly, when you provide answers to your homework questions, try to be precise instead of writing and writing and writing and writing. It's the same as talking and talking and talking. Why am I talking? Why am I writing? Because I am a bodily concept of life. And why we have to learn this? I already gave you an example that one person, while I was trying to distribute a book, was running and asking me a question for demigod worship. So because it only takes 30 seconds or less to convince someone to take Bhagavad Gita or any spiritual book. So I request all of you to please come for book distribution whenever we go, and you will see that everyone is running and running and running. Therefore, the next homework questions that you are going to get, the spiritual endeavor questions, try to answer in brief to the point. Read the answer to a kid, 5-year-old kid, or some stranger, and see that within how many seconds they lose attention while listening to your answers. So we will learn a lot of subtle things from Arjuna. So Arjuna's questions are obviously very important in terms of the content. And further, we will learn from Arjuna the behavior, the attitude, the humility, all these subtle qualities. So when you write messages, say in your WhatsApp messages, you write, your humble servant. Does that make you humble? Anybody? Everybody? By writing your humble servant, do you become humble?
No.
No, Prabhu.
Okay, so how do you become humble?
By actually being one.
Yeah, very good. So humility is not by verbal. Humility is by behavior, by our actions. Now recall this discussion from our chapter 1 discussion, that there are two systems of knowledge. Inductive, meaning trying by my own hypothesis, and deductive is top down, meaning relying on Vedic scriptures which are coming in parampara. So for spirituality, at least I have not seen the spiritual world. So how can I ask a question for something I have not seen? Therefore, spend little time on your inquiry. Don't set a base. Just say, I have this question. Arjuna's all questions are in 4 lines or less. Say all verses are 4 lines. 4 lines, 16 words. Try to frame your question in 16 words so that you can hear answers. Answers are coming from spiritual point. So one of the devotee said questions are important because it's not one devotee, there are multiple devotees. They said questions are important, and they said that from questions one can get the answers. And if I don't ask question, that I cannot get answers. So I already explained that I want you to realize that I, and probably some of you, have not seen spiritual world. So how can you ask a question on something that you don't know much about? Anybody here has seen spiritual world?
No, Prabhuji, not seen with naked eyes, no.
Or even understood anything about spiritual world?
Trying to, yeah. I mean,
No, but have you
not completely.
So
No.
how can you ask a question for something that you don't know much about? Yes, so my point is, ask as many questions as you like. Just try to be precise to the point. And again, this is a work in progress. I'm not expecting you from tomorrow you will be 100% right. No, try to frame your question in your head. Try to narrow it down. What exactly is your question? And the simple way is leave all the background out. Unless somebody says, give me a little more background, then you can give the background. We will soon discuss at the start of chapter 3, what you can know depends on what you already know. What? Does it make sense? I'll repeat. What you can know depends on what you already know. I'll give you an example. I can drive a car, but I'm not a car mechanic. So there is some rattling noise. To me, it's an annoying rattling noise. Why is this happening? I take that same car to a mechanic, and the moment he hears the rattling noise, he will say, so and so part needs to be replaced or repaired. How does he know? Because he already knows the car. How do I don't know? Because I don't know. Therefore, what you can know depends on what you already know. Therefore, ask questions in brief, and we will spend more time on answers so that we can get spiritual benefit. And Pratyaksha Praman. For spiritual topic, Pratyaksha is useless because I have not seen anything. How am I going to describe or ask anything? So questions are valid, just be in brief. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So I did not make up this question. This question actually comes from Bhagavad Gita directly. I just said at the time that it will be a little difficult for you all to find this directly in Bhagavad Gita. So let's read. Mansi, read verse number 9 translation.
Sure, Prabhuji.
9 and 10 translations together.
Okay. Bhagavad Gita 2.9, Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjun, chas- chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. O descendant of Bharat, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna.
Arjuna fell silent. This is where this question came from. Is question important? Is answer important? So Arjuna is teaching us that when you don't know, then listen more rather than talking more. And that's what we have to do. For so many of you are from here, Toronto area. If you have challenges on making your question short, I request you to go to the Toronto temple and sit with His Grace Dharma Prana Prabhu. So it's very easy to identify Dharma Prana Prabhu. He lives in the temple and he is a handicapped devotee. He's a pure devotee. So when he got a stroke many years back, his one side of the body and a speech got impacted. So now he can speak few words, but not full sentences. So he will only say few words and you will understand what he's asking for or what he wants you to do. So therefore, go and sit with him and see how he's framing his point in just very few words, not even a full sentence. So we'll learn from Arjuna that how Arjuna is asking so many questions, but they are brief to the point. Again, there is no limit to how many questions you can ask, but there is no need to build a background to your question. Simply ask the question. Provide additional information or background to your question only when the speaker asks you. And generally, I like to hear my voice more and more and more. Therefore, I keep on talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. This leads to the next and the last spiritual endeavor question that you all had. What is freely available? So I will bring up the answers on screen. I'm not going to read all of these answers. One devotee actually got it right. Generally, what is freely available is, generally we are very eager to give instructions to others, to give advice to others. So there is nothing that people want to give as freely as advice. So I want all of you to go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 2, Sanskrit. And there is a word Vishidantam. What's the translation of the word Vishidantam? 2.2. Sorry, 2.1, not 2.2, 2.1. There's a word Vishidantam. What's the meaning of Vishidantam?
Overwhelmed.
Lamenting.
Lamenting. Okay, very good. So I now want you to go to 2.10 and the word Vishidantam is there again. What's the meaning?
Unto the lamenting one.
Again, lamenting. So what happened between 2.1 and 2.10? Arjuna was lamenting at 2.1 and Arjuna is also lamenting at 2.10. So when Arjuna was lamenting at 2.1, the Vishidantam, Krishna gave a pep talk. Hey, what are you doing? How have these impurities come upon you? And 2.10, also Arjuna is lamenting, is the same word Vishidantam is there. And from 2.11 onwards, Krishna will speak the entire Bhagavad Gita. So what's the difference between the two Vishidantam, the two lamentation points? So at the end of chapter 1, when Arjuna put aside his bow and arrow and is continuing in 2.1, Arjuna is simply communicating his decision that Arjuna will not fight. Therefore, in 2.2, Krishna gave him a pep talk. And Arjuna did not make any inquiries in chapter 1 nor in 2.1. By 2.10 verse, at 2.7, the first major junction point, Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna. Arjuna has made an inquiry. What is my duty? Please instruct me. I am your disciple. And this is where the role changed. Therefore, up to this point, Krishna did not give any instructions until the spiritual master, Krishna, is asked for. So Krishna will start speaking Bhagavad Gita from this point on. And Krishna starts with a smile. Oh, this Krishna smile, I'm sure many of you must be bewildered. That when Krishna is smiling, means Krishna has a plan. And this Krishna smile, we will also discuss in Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of you are also there in this other batch. This Krishna smile discussion will come up there also. Questions, comments, realizations before I give you spiritual endeavor for today. So what you have on the screen, so one devotee which is there in green had the correct answer, that advice is freely available. And the yellow points, I just want to highlight that he said God is freely available. God is not freely available. Rather, the correct point is devotional service to God is freely available to everyone. God is visible only when God reveals himself. And same point about realization about God. It's not that you can realize freely. No, you have to endeavor. Therefore, devotional service is freely available to everyone. Take a snapshot. I'm not going to read all the answers. The answers is not the point. The point was about to understand that what is freely available is advice. Questions, comments, realizations. We are bang at 4 p.m. here in Toronto time. Okay, spiritual endeavor questions. Summarize 2.2 and 2.7 purports in your own words. So I will send a Google form. You can populate there. Now do understand that this you are summarizing the purport. This can be a little long because it's a whole purport. You don't have to write in 16 words. That's not the point here. The inquiry has to be short. Here you are explaining the purport, but again, still try to be concise rather than writing the whole purport. That's not the point. Recall from our initial class, Srila Prabhupada's instruction that you understand the purports and then speak or write in your own words without changing the meaning. The next standard homework is read all the purports up to the verses covered. So we have covered up to verse number 10. And I will post Prabhupada lecture, listen to Prabhupada lecture also. So is this spiritual endeavor manageable? I said now it will be less on a go forward basis.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Rest of
Yes,
you?
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
My last point, I request all those who do not endeavor, I request you to please have an offline chat with me, because if you don't endeavor, I have data from all previous batches that those who do not endeavor, they end up leaving Bhagavad Gita and devotee association. These endeavors are meant to make you think, meant to make you transform, meant to make you remember Krishna and develop spiritual taste. So I request you humbly to please connect with me offline so that let me know how can I help you, how can I serve you. And those of you who are listening or missing classes, get the recording from me, because there's a continuity. We did realize in our today's class also that there is a continuity for what goes on in Bhagavad Gita. Everybody can do that, please.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Are we okay to stop here? We are just past 4 p.m. here in Toronto time.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji.